All right, welcome back to the Sean Trace Show. I have a special guest today, Mr. Nony Geffen. Now, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the guest a little bit about who you are and what you do?
For sure. So I'm Nony Geffen, as you said, and I'm a film director and a producer, originally from Israel, now from Israel, living in Israel, teaching in Israel. And but yes, during the time that I lived in the US, I found a project that we're going to talk about.
Great.
The Bobby Henline project, basically.
Yeah. And well, first of all, I want to kind of just explore, right off the bat, I want to kind of explore, how did you get into filmmaking?
All right, so it's a lot about me. No problem.
Yeah.
No, I thought it's okay. So basically,
a little bit. We can do both. I want to hear how you got into film, and then about the project that you've got going on.
So when I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
That was like my dream when I was young, but I was awful. I was the best. But like a lot of actors, I was pretty sure that I'm like pretty great, and nobody understands me, or stuff like that.
Hey man, I've been there. I've been in the acting classes. I did acting as well. And there were times that I was like, man, that was the best thing I've ever done. And then I watched a video and I was like, what the hell just happened right there? So yeah. I feel you. But so then you kind of migrated to behind the camera at some point in time. Yes.
So I did some acting like here and there. I got the lead in a movie, in a feature that nobody heard of. Like not mine, and yes, that was kind of the end of that career. But I still thought about that, so I just I started to write stuff, and I guess I was not the worst writer, so I started working in that, like in the industry. But writing dialogues and stuff like that. Then I just write my own script that I can do, and I decided to do it like as an indie feature with like I don't know, 50 grand. No, it was 25,000 like grants. That's
nice.
Yeah. So I did
That's
that.
awesome.
Thank you. It was like black and white. Super indie feature, kind of Buffalo 66-ish in that area, I guess.
Yeah.
And it won a few big festivals around the world, and then
awesome.
After that I made my second film.
Well, I want to, before we go on, did you love the process of making it? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Right.
That was like a pure fun. Not just pure fun, it's kind of, I understand that, okay, so the transform from being an actor, it was like wanting that.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, it's doing that. It's something that passion is not just by words, it's by acting, by like what the stuff that you actually do. Like it doesn't matter if someone said no, if someone said maybe, you just do it because that's your passion. So I understand that my passion is not acting back then, because I love actors. I have friends that are actors, and they're like fighting, and they're like I was kind of not. I was definitely not a fighter. I was crying about it, maybe between my friends that I'm the best actor that nobody knows, but I was not fighting for that. And I'm definitely a fighter in my area now, which is
nice.
Like
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, because I this is a common theme that a lot of people that have come on the podcast have talked about. You have to have that fire that passion for what you're doing. Because if you don't, someone else will, and they will just run past you, and you're like, wait. Ah,
Yes, it is. I completely agree with you. It's you have to have that passion for that, and it's not just the fester. It's like, if not, do something else, because it definitely doesn't worth that. Like in as business, it's not something. It have to come as your passion to do, and like I will find a way.
Right, exactly. If there's a will, there's a way. Because it's like, you're gonna get in a in any job, you're gonna get 1,000 no's before you get any yeses. You know what I mean? But in filmmaking, you're gonna get 1,000,000 no's. You know what I mean? It's just like you really have to be willing to like keep going at it, because even I've heard some stories about some of the greatest filmmakers that when they shared one of their initial story pitches to someone, people were like, yeah, that's horrible. That's never going to happen. And then they make it, and it's like this huge thing. And people are like, yeah, well, I guess you were wrong, because you just have to believe in it. But you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in your vision, and you have to believe in the story that you're telling,
Yes, you're not in the right business if you're not, for sure.
Right? But, still taking constructive criticism and feedback is always good, but you got to fight for it. So
for sure.
You moved on to your second feature. What was that one about?
The second one or the first one? Sorry.
First one you said was kind of a Buffalo 66, but what was it about, the first one?
The first one was about a teacher who kidnapped his student, but then they kind of she helped him to get the one that he fall in love with. They become friends. It's
That's interesting.
It's a dark comedy, I guess. That's
dark comedy. Hey, you know what? Those are fun, man. Now, what was your second? What was your second feature about?
So my second feature was about a guy who suffered from PTSD, and then like after he served, and then he thinks that he's a rock star that was back in the 80s, someone that passed away already.
Interesting. So
like something like correcting his mind, kind of thing. Yeah.
Interesting. Why did you drift towards that topic? Was there anything personally that made you feel that it was an interesting story?
Well, yes, like everything. Even my first film was about the place that I grew up at, because I have to come from like to bring something personal. Not everything, obviously, is personal. I didn't kidnap anyone, and I was not a rock star. Right. Yes, during my serve, I have some, let's call it, strong memories.
Yeah.
So I guess it was everything I do. I guess it got like I guess a lot of filmmakers or like just writers, there is something in the process that helped them to process with like stuff that happened to them.
Yeah, I think so. I think that some of the best writing, some of the best poetry, some of the best film, it deals with people's own personal journey, personal challenges, So it's interesting. Well, that's really interesting. Now, what is the project that you're working on right now? Because it's a really interesting project. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. So there is a comedian, motivational speaker named Bobby Henline, which he was served like 4 times in Iraq, and during the 4th time, he injured so badly. 60% of his skin went off. Basically, he tells him about he talks like that about himself, but that he's like the real Freddy Krueger, and and there is truth with that. But what amazing about Bobby, that after what happened to him, he transformed to a comedian, a motivational speaker, and like go on stage and it's like, hey, you can still, basically what he's trying to say is you can still choose life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I met a few American veterans that in his situation they're like not go out of their places, like not at all, definitely not like go on stages and stuff like that, but not even not leave their house, like nothing. Really hard time to communicate, and Bobby is just funny, cool. So I thought it's an amazing story to share, but we opened that for more than Bobby. Like Bobby is kind of the leader, but I worked on that for the last, I don't know, 2 years. So I find a few other people, not like Bobby, but kind of in the same area, which each one of them have their own unique story. So we became kind of a group, like a real group. And yes, Bobby is definitely the leader, but we have a few others that I want to share their story through that story as well. Like it's going to be a road trip basically with them, and I think their impact is going to be amazing. I hope so. That
I'm
people
sure.
will feel about that, like the way I feel that I saw when I saw Bobby and when I saw Dan. And I try. I think you know what I don't want to say stuff like that, but basically, I think that's the best time for stories like that, to share stories like accepting the other, to share stories that you can choose life either if like bad stuff happened to you, because bad stuff happened to all of us, and yes, Bobby is maybe an extreme situation that happened, but you know what, if he can, I can, you
Exactly.
that's what I'm trying to achieve in that story. And and as from what I do, I come more from, I don't want to say comedy, but kind of it's easy. I don't like sad, heavy stuff. But it has to be, fun, basically fun movie. Yes, there will be touching moments, but it's all in all, it's have to be fun, and they know.
No, sorry. There was a great Trevor Noah. I love Trevor Noah. He came out and he did this great comedy sketch about how his grandfather was, they were at some protests, and his grandfather there was a police officer on a horse, and it was an intimidating situation. And Trevor Noah's grandpa started telling this joke, like, why can the prime minister kiss a horse, but he won't kiss my sister? And the police officer was really upset. Like, he's like, I don't know. And he's like, you haven't seen my sister. And the guy just started laughing. He just started break up laughing. And what was powerful about that is, like, Trevor Noah points out that, like, in that moment was the moment that he learned that comedy was so powerful because it could disarm people, and that you can approach really heavy topics that are really overwhelming to people, and do it in a way that you kind of take them back. Because I think one of the problems nowadays is that there are a lot of serious things that we look at in the world, in the news, is a lot of serious stuff. Like, you can't downplay that, but you still have to remember that you can approach it one of two ways. You know what I mean? You can approach it with just this, everything's gonna be fight, or you can approach it with this lightness. There was 2 nights ago, I'd interviewed this actor, Pasquale, is an Italian actor, and he was telling me he was living in Germany, and he said this one story where he was at the doctor's office, and this one guy was like, you inside, and he was like, he was ready for a fight. Like, he waited outside for that guy to come out, and when the guy came out, he's like, why are you telling me where to go? And he's like, oh, I thought you were lost. I just wanted to tell you they had chairs inside and that you were welcome to sit down. And he was like, you know, it's like, so we're all conditioned so quick to, you know, get up and to fight, and the thing about comedy is that if we can disarm people, if we can just allow them to kind of lower their guard, we can talk about things that are tricky to talk about. And that, when I started creating this podcast, I want to bring people on from all backgrounds, people from all, you know, walks of life, because I want people to hear stories and to remember that we're all human and we all deal with similar challenges, you know. And that's what I love about the story that you're sharing, is because, you know, the other day I stubbed my toe. And it was really bad. And it was like, you know, a broken toe, I like a hairline fracture. And because it was like, my doctor looked at it, I was like, you know, it's just, you know, it's like, it didn't feel good. But, you know, I'm like, the first day I was like, I'm just destroyed. You know, I can't do anything. I can't exercise. And then all of a sudden I just thought about it. And in that same day, outside, our trash guy, like the garbage man, in the middle of a pandemic, we're dealing with a major lockdown, and he's still picking up trash, and he had his arm in a sling, and he was wearing a mask, driving a motorcycle one-handed and picking up the trash. And I was like, my toe isn't that bad. My toe is not that bad. You know what I mean? My situation, because, and if someone else whose situation is much more challenging can make it through, then I sure as heck can deal with whatever minor challenges I'm dealing with. And not to minimize my challenges, not to say my toe didn't hurt, but, you know, it's context.
It does feel like some of proportion to kind of what you're dealing with. Exactly. Now, how did you find out about Bobby's story? How did you kind of become involved in it? So I lived in New York. I studied in New York, and then like I saw, like, you know, something that he had like he had a show or have a show gonna have. Mm-hmm. I don't really remember. I remember that I couldn't come, but I was like, what's that? You know? Mm-hmm. And that's like, that's unique. It's not something that you see every day. Mm-hmm. And so I find him on Instagram.
I love finding people on Instagram, right? It's awesome.
Yes, and then I wrote him like every day for a year.
That's awesome.
Because I'm like, yeah, but it is like I delete my messages every day because I didn't want to think that I'm like completely crazy. So I delete them, like just copy paste and like, but every day because he just didn't see the message.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And as I said from the beginning, I'm very consistent because I do believe in what I do.
I love that.
So it's like it was like a year, maybe 8 months, but something like that. I think very long. And then like out of the blue, it's like, hey, yes. And he thought that that's like my first message that I just sent yes or something like that.
That's awesome. I got to remember that. I got to remember to delete my messages and send them again. That is brilliant. I never thought about that. Unsend and then send again.
I still do it when I need, man.
Wow. You gave me a new tool. I'm going back and doing that today.
Yeah, if nobody's seen, that's like on Instagram, you can see that if there is seen or not seen.
If it's sent or is seen or not seen.
That, I'm like, yeah, sure. So I'm like, yeah, all right. Well, let's resend.
You gave me
because I guess a lot of times it's go to the request and not like if you have like, a lot of followers. I guess you don't see that. Like Bobby had like 80,000, something like that. So he just didn't see that. So I just keep doing that till he check.
That's awesome. But I love that. Like like I love my wife was talking about something yesterday. Like my wife is a famous singer here in Vietnam. She was like the first winner of Vietnam Idol. And so I do all of our music videos and stuff. I make all of our music, and I don't make the music, but I shoot the videos. I make our music videos, and then I kind of produce things and I record stuff for us, and then we have someone mix it for us. But one of the things that she gets so frustrated with me, because she's like, "You're annoying because you never quit," and I'm like, it's like if I'm the type where, because I think I'm like you, like if I want to get something, I'm gonna get it. Because I believe in it. You know what I mean? If it's something that I believe in, I know I have to do it, And so I love that.
Me too. I'm like that as well. And that's great about your wife. That's amazing.
Yeah, she's cool. Yeah, you were asking me, so you were asking me, why did I move to Vietnam?
And what did you do back in LA? You said that you come from the film industry.
So yeah, I was living in LA. I was studying as an actor, training as an actor, and I was doing the actor thing, but it wasn't going so fast. I got into some some nice features as production roles. I was doing a lot of stand-in work, which people in LA were like, "Oh, you're not a real actor," and I was like, but I got to be on set every day and watch like people working. And so I got onto one big movie in the summer of 2007, and I was on it for 5 months, and and I got to be yeah. What was that?
Wow. For the stand-in?
Yeah, as a stand-in. So I got really lucky. The production team liked me, and they just kept bringing me back to stand-in for different people. They're like, "Oh, just come on back on." And so I got to work as a stand-in. And like the cool thing about being a stand-in is you're working with the camera crew and the lighting, and and so I got to see them setting up all their shots, and then I could go back and sit down if I wanted to. But between takes, as long as I wasn't in their way, I could just stand back and watch them work. Like I didn't have to leave. And so, man, I was sitting there, and for we're on there 12-hour days, and I would sit down sometimes, but I'm literally between takes, I'm just watching the whole production, and I learned so much from being on these productions, and it was like, I got paid, like $50,000.
No, it's not a bad payment. I remember I never done that, but I was shadow director to Peter Farrelly, the Oscar winner.
Yeah.
And I never heard about that, because in Israel, definitely, the industry is so small. We definitely don't have money for, standing and all that. Mm-hmm. So and obviously Peter Farrelly, it's a huge production.
Yeah.
And I saw that, people standing. And I'm like, huh? What's that? So I'm a friendly person, and I'm a curious person. I don't know. Yeah,
me too.
I'm friendly.
Super curious. Yeah. What is this?
So I went to ask, like, hey, so that's what you do, guys? And I think I don't know if they're like actors or models or extras. I don't really remember. But I said, like, so how much did the production pay? And it was like something like $400 a day, but for a long time.
It was nice. It was good money, man.
I was making a day to do basically, stand
and watch people work.
Yeah, it's like.
Though I will say, there are two types of actors, and this is really crazy, right? And you don't realize this, but as a stand-in, you view actors in a different way. And this is the way camera views actors. And this is a thing that I never realized. Like, the camera team views actors in two different categories. Actors that stay in one damn spot, and actors that move all over set. And so there's some of the actors, and that was in rehearsal. I was lucky because my friend Tour that I stood in for was like, I got to be really good friends with him. He's an actor from Denmark. And he was like, I started here and I moved over here. And I was like, thank you. My friend who was standing in for another American actor, kind of an A-list guy, that guy was like, he had like, literally, he had like 6-7 different marks every scene. He loved to move all over set. And so like he had like 7 different marks, and cameras like, oh, what the hell, man? And his stand-in was just like, he went here, and then he crossed over here, and they came back over here, and I was like, oh, dude, it's different.
Yeah, for the lighting.
For lighting and stuff, like they were just like, and I could see every time he moved around, the camera crew was watching it, and they were just like, especially the focus puller. The kid was just like melting in his chair. He's like, oh,
so
like,
you were raised in LA, in California?
I'm not an Angelino. No, my dad is British, and my mom's American. So I grew up in the States, but I grew up all over. I spent some time in England, and if I need to, I can speak in a fabulous English accent. I can pop out with a British accent if I need to. It will sound quite posh if I need to.
So they moved a lot inside the States itself?
All over the States, yeah. All over the States. My dad was a businessman, and we moved around. I lived in Massachusetts, North Carolina, Tennessee, Idaho. But one of the cool things... one of the cool things for that is I can do accents from all over the U.S. So as an actor, it was actually really helpful for that. I can pull off any of the different regional accents.
I guess you've been to England as well.
Yeah. I spent time in London, and I love it, man. I like England. It's cold, though. It rains a lot, but it's nice. Cold. Yeah, but I mean, I love
the Boston area. It's also cold there.
It is, I left Boston when I was pretty young. My connection to Boston though still is I'm a huge New England sports fan. So I mean the Celtics, the Pats, and the Red Sox are like that's where I can. But especially I'm a big basketball fan. But I was in LA studying. But I was also in LA studying medicine. I was studying acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and so I was there. And but my friends were all graduated, and I found out that because I was working in front of the camera as an actor, but I just wasn't getting a ton of stuff, and I was trying really hard. But I was like, well, I'm really good at the camera. And so I started getting behind the camera and started making videos for new media. So I started making YouTube videos for companies, and I was doing really well with it. I was making a ton of stuff for, and my niche was I was helping out actors and UFC fighters. So I was doing social media for some of the UFC fighters in LA, a bunch of the Brazilian guys. And it was cool, man. I really loved it. I was making fun videos like, this is how you break someone's arm, And so I'm a martial artist, so I'm a black belt in judo, so I love martial arts, and it was pretty cool to be around those guys. And they're just fun.
I don't know anything. I know a bit Krav Maga, and that's it basically.
Yeah, but Krav Maga is pretty awesome, man. But I'm in LA, and 2008 financial crisis hits, and a lot of production left LA because they were just looking for better deals. And at that time, Atlanta and New Orleans were offering great deals for the studios to kind of shift production out of LA. And suddenly there was a bunch of people like me who didn't have work in LA, and we were all just like, and I was just like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I said, hey, I had lived in Vietnam after university. I spoke Vietnamese, and I said, well, might as well pop back over there and try my hand at production over there. And I came back, and I started doing some production stuff here, and doing, again, a lot of new media stuff. But when I met my wife, and after we got married, pretty much I stopped doing videos for other people and just started doing content for us. And so, I mean, I've shot I've done over 300 music videos and vlogs and stuff. 300 videos.
Like she's an influencer in Vietnam.
Yep. And that was something that I helped build up over the last couple of years. And then during lockdown, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I went back and started screenwriting classes and took some acting classes. But
really? In Saigon?
No, I online. But I'm just everything online. Okay. Back from the States. In Saigon, there's not too much here. There's not too much in the way of actor training. And there's great food. They've got, they've got a whole, and the music's great. And so, but not, go ahead.
I don't know Vietnamese music too much. I know the food is great.
Yeah, the Vietnamese music is actually, they've got some of their own special genres. One of it's a genre called bolero, and there's something called cải lương. Bolero is kind of Yeah, it's hard to put, but it comes from like the European bolero influence, and it's got some of those like those same beats of the like the Latin bolero, but they completely took it and kind of made it their own, and so it's really special. My mother-in-law sings bolero style really well, and it has.
I'll definitely check that on YouTube after our call.
I have a rap song in Vietnamese with my wife where we took a traditional song and I rapped in Vietnamese. Pretty awesome, man. I like that song too.
If I was to write your name on YouTube, I will find it.
I'll send you the link. We started a new channel because our old channel we had we're trying to like establish a new channel that's more English based. And so because I'm trying to get more focus on I wouldn't mind, getting my wife into more of the US market. That's kind of one of my goals because she sings so well. And she sings, I think, as well or better in English.
The Vietnamese idol, for sure.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I make music videos and sing, and I direct. And I started this podcast kind of, and one of the vibes that like I liked with you is I felt that the last couple years, there's been, when COVID hit, everyone was kind of stuck at home and the internet was the place people went. And the internet is full of good stuff, but it's also really full of absolute crazy. And like and I mean, and not just even like over the really serious stuff. I'm talking like even for my daughter. Like if I'll go and find a YouTube channel that is good channel that has good educational content, and I'm like, watch this. And then 2 seconds later, she's watching, like she's hit a button and she's watching some crazy stuff, and I'm like, what is that? Like, oh my gosh. And like these people that make this content that is, and I'm not going to say it's bad, but not what I want my kid watching, and they're taking like toys. It's
completely free,
It's crazy. And so, but the thing is they're relentless. They are relentless at making what they make. Like these people are popping out, a video a day for kids, and they're getting 1 million views per video. And I'm saying like, and that was one of my things was like, I really feel like people that want to spread positivity, you have to be equally relentless. You have to be equally, as motivated, because there are some really interesting people out there making stuff that I don't think is helping unify people. That's helping bring people together, And
no, that's for sure not. I cannot see your video, by the way. I don't know why.
Really? Sometimes if there's a lag on the internet connection, it will disappear, but then comes back.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be back. It's still recording, and it records up to the cloud. So it will be, when I edit it, I'll still look nice and beautiful. But
sure.
I color correct the crap out of I clean these videos up. Do some nice little touches. No, but again, you got to make things funny. Now, what is some of your dreams that you'd like to have in your film career?
A lot,
right?
Much, yeah. Well, it's never end. I think the best answer that every filmmaker can answer, basically, I guess, I could say the best thing is just a new thing, basically. It's like, it's always what's your best movie? The movie that I will do like next. That's the best movie.
I like that.
So
I like that.
I do think that's the right answer for me and most of us, because you believe, and obviously now I believe that movie can go to the Oscar, but life will bring, let's make the film before the Oscar,
Right.
Obviously you believe in all your heart. That's like the great project, like everybody else, that believe in their project, I guess.
How much longer do you guys have left? Are you in post-production now, or are you still shooting?
No, we didn't shoot even. We're
nothing shot Still in pre-production?
I don't want to say nothing shot because there is a few stuff, but what we are basically doing right now, like I can tell you that
Yeah, you don't tell me too much. I mean, just.
No, I can tell you that I didn't take like really nice offers, either for me personally and to sell the IP, or either not the best amount for a feature as I see that. So basically, I decided we have a few bucks, not bad, nothing bad. Like we don't look for money right now, and we're gonna shoot a trailer, and then we're gonna look for the right amount that we believe that's what the movie should, work.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, if you could give advice to filmmakers out there, what type of advice would you give for people who are trying to follow in this path? What are some of the things that you would tell people to think about when they're developing their films or their career?
Yeah, I guess it's like two things that I can think of. One is think what you want to see, like what you as and second, think about the audience. So it's have to be a mix between, because sometimes I know some filmmakers that think only about the audience, and for me it's a mistake at least. And I know some filmmakers that think only about what they personally like. And there is like not a lot of people, even if the movie is made, there is like 4 people that watch that movie.
Yeah, right.
So I think it has to be a mix between something that you have a passion for, and it's not just yes, I want to be a successful, and like you want to share that story. It can be like science fiction. I don't mind. I don't say what it is, but it has to come from a real place. I do believe in that, and then you need to think about the audience.
Yeah. Well, and I talked to someone the other night, my friend Addison, and I was saying like, and just this morning I did a podcast with my friend that I shot, and I told him that like as a filmmaker, one of the things that I actually think that I believe that I'm an educator or a teacher. And on some levels I feel like your films are teaching people something, or you're sharing in a concept, that is inside the film. And granted, sometimes films are just fun, you know what I mean? But I still feel that like even most films that are kind of the the Oscar type of films are they've got some type of topic that they're exploring, something that they're looking at, questions that they're asking.
For sure. I definitely agree that most of like the good movies ask questions, like the filmmaker or the writer or someone ask a question and try to find the answer for that.
Right.
I guess that's what we do. It can be just fun, there is movies like that are basically fun. I like some pretty shitty things on TV sometimes. So
I follow some stuff on Instagram that's just really stupid because it makes me feel happy.
You have no idea.
Right. Man.
Well,
but
I think that I watched not all of that, but Too Hot to Handle, and that was on Netflix. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't yet. I gotta check it.
That's like basically crap. But you know what? It was entertainment. Yeah.
What was it? There was one movie that I saw like that recently that I was like, what is the point of this? But it was hilarious. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe that was the point. Maybe the point was sometimes people just need to laugh. Maybe the point is sometimes you just got to give people space to kind of cut loose. Well, and that was like the thing, like one of the things I love on Netflix, and this ties back into Bobby, is, man, I love the stand-up comedy. I love watching all the stand-up comedy.
For sure.
Because like,
for sure.
one of the things that I think is dangerous in modern society is that everyone's so damn serious all the time.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Definitely in the US. I don't know how is it in Vietnam, but in the US, they are pretty tied up, with everything.
Yeah. And I think that, like, and I can't comment on other people's issues. But one thing I know about myself is that I don't take myself seriously because I can't. You know what I mean? God knows I have a daughter and a wife that if I ever tried to take myself seriously, they would take me down. They would be like, "Oh, we know what you're really."
I think life will take you. Life take you down if you take yourself like too serious. I give it. I even see like people on Facebook, and probably they're right because I believe and especially in Israel, you can see. But stuff between Arabs and the Jews, or people now with the pandemic, if they against the vaccines, and if people take themselves way too serious, like I took the vaccines, but I don't care if and people fight for that for their life, and they get it too serious. They just hate each other right now, It's so, and I saw the comments on Facebook and cursing each other.
Yes.
I'm like, you know what? The people who suffer for that, there are people that actually do that. I'm yes, it's not just you're wrong. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. No, Okay, fine.
One of the things too that I want to tie back into something that you said earlier, because you're spot on. It's context too, because I've been living outside of the U.S. while my friends in the U.S. were just at each other's throats, and people were on this side of an issue or this side of an issue, and I see other places where they deal with stuff too. And one of the things is like we have this one guy who's works with my wife sometimes, and he's a motorcycle taxi driver, and and for him, this is what happened in Vietnam when COVID hit. When COVID hit, families, because of the lockdown, people were driving 1,000 kilometers on a motorcycle with 4 or 5 people just so they could get back to their hometown in the hope. And we're talking father, mother, 2 children, and they're just tying the children onto them and then just driving. In Vietnam, the police were driving caravans to get people back to their villages so that they could not suffer. And I'm not saying that isn't as or that one person's suffering is worse than another, but I'm saying meanwhile I'm watching my friends at each other's throats on Facebook for a mask. And I'm not saying that the mask issue is not a big deal. I'm saying that there are, for all of us, there's always someone who has a worse situation than you have. And you know what I mean? And what I'm saying is if we could come to people with a little bit of empathy, instead of this aggressiveness. And that's where comedy helps me. I love one of the comedies that I really loved in the last, and I don't agree with everything he says, but I love the Andrew Schulz Saves America. And it was this great special.
I didn't watch that yet. It's on my...
Dude, I won't tell you anything, but it's so great. It's so great because he goes, and what I love about it is that he goes after both sides. He goes after the left, and he goes after the right. And he's like, both of you guys are just calm down, man. You can believe this and you can believe this. And what I loved about it was that, again, you don't have to agree with everything he says. But when you're laughing, it sure makes it easier to listen. And at that point in time, once you can start listening, we can start a conversation. Because people used to be able to have conversations. And now they're no one wants to have a conversation. You know what I mean? And that's where
they just do a comment on Facebook or something like that.
And one of the problems too with social media too is that it's really easy. you ever see these videos? Like there was this one video on the internet of dogs fighting behind a fence, right? And there's this gate, and the dog's like, and then the owner opens the gate, opens the gate, and the dogs are like, oh man, I don't want to really fight. I'm running, they just run off.
Yeah.
It's like the internet. Right? The internet has given people this bravado, There was this one great thing where this UFC fighter, this guy was like talking trash to this UFC fighter. And the guy was like, man, you should have done this. And the UFC fighter's like, you want to come over here and tell me that? And he's like, no, not really. And he's like, why not? He's like, you'd kick my butt. and the guy was just... He just admits it, but like, the keyboard warriors, whatever they call it, it's like, I think that, but again, one of the dangers I think in our world is when we see someone else as an other, you know what I mean? And we create that distance between us and them. I think that's just dangerous instead of, we're all part of the same human family. At least that's the way I look at it.
I agree. That's why I hope that Bobby's story and like the whole well done thing of Bobby. That's how he called him as a comedian. That's how he's gonna call the movie. I do believe in everything that basically you just said. That if it will get to the right people, you can just see that and laugh for a second and think about, you know what? I can see it in a different way. So I did my thing, and I did it. We are about to finish. So if someone watched it and is a producer want to join me, join forces, is more than welcome.
Man, and that's again why I want to kind of do this platform for me, because man, like you said, there was something you said earlier that was the same vision I have. We need to be sharing people's stories. People's stories are important to hear. Because if we can share these stories, like I don't have any problem with all of the influencers out there. I don't have any problem with all the celebrity stories being told. You know what? That's great. They have special lives. But there's a lot of other people who have very special lives too, And if we can just talk about them, if we can share them, and I think the world becomes a much
more... spot for a second instead of like celebrities or influencers, just like on other stuff for a second.
Yeah, and it's like, because I think that we also are creating an unrealistic view of what's real, and that's one of the things that like my wife and when I talk about, like, and this is one of the things I talk about on my podcast, and she and I try to do in the news. We make these videos, and it looks like our life is like, oh, our marriage is perfect and this is perfect and we do love songs, and we're like, and I was like, and we will go on our media and say it's not perfect. We want to inspire people, but our shit's stinks too. And you got to remember that. But I mean, the thing is that
no, but for sure it is confusing to see all day on, like, to be on Instagram or to be. It just everybody looks so perfect and definitely it's not, Well,
and we're behind a camera. We understand that you can make something look really nice. My daughter, I gave her a little camera. I posted some photos to my Instagram yesterday that I was like, after we shot our music video, I was like taking some really like, really fancy looking, I held my camera out at arm's length and I was just taking some really stylized photos.
Okay.
It looked nice, but it was a nice camera, it's like, and I was shooting with it was like a 50 f1.4. So it's, got that shallow depth of field and I felt all fancy. Those photos look way better than, I give my daughter a camera, literally every single photo, I look like crap, and it's like, let's be real, like you can game it up. You can make yourself look a little bit nicer than is real, But I think that, and like, I like to release those photos that my daughter took of me that I look like crap, because I think perspective is important. And I think being able to laugh about it when you're down. There was a great comment on Twitter the other day about why the movie Venom with Tom Hardy was like the best movie ever. And I was like, Venom is the best movie ever. And I was like, well, I got to read this. And they're like, that was one reason. And when you hear this and you go back and watch it, you can be like, all right, I can appreciate that. They said the whole movie, Tom Hardy is this A-list actor, right? And the whole movie, he looks like shit. Like, he's like sweating, he's just like vomiting everywhere. And like, literally, it's not like every other superhero movie. They try, like, the person's like posing and just like, you know, I look so grand. And like, Tom Hardy is like this close to death the whole movie, you know, sweating, you know. And like, literally, like, he's like everyone. Like, that's what it would be like for us, you know? You know, the rest of us are just barely getting by. And that movie is like, they're like, this movie, that's every one of us, you know? That's what a real superhero would be like. Just really messed up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, damn, I appreciate that. But,
I never thought about it as well. But, you know, good to think about it in a way like that.
Right? Well, I want to ask you one more question. If you could go back in time to a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
What advice? I guess be nicer.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I guess that's the real advice that I would say to my younger version.
Right. It's simple, but you know, one of the things that I'm aware of. Do you have kids?
No, not yet.
All right. One of the things that I'm aware of, that since I had my daughter, I've got a 5-year-old, and I'm kind of like a very direct person. All right, come on, let's go. Let's get it going. Don't cry. Come on, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. But the way she was talking to her dolls, I don't know if it's good or bad. She's like, what are the dolls? She looked at the doll and was like, come on, get it together. And I was like, oh man.
So she talks like you, basically, demanding.
She's like looking at the doll and she's like, what's your problem? Get your shit together. Didn't say shit, but you know, she's like, get it together, doll. Come on. I was like, oh man. I was like laughing so hard at that. I was like, maybe I gotta think about my language I'm using.
You need to video that.
Oh man, I got to sometime. Oh, I was laughing so hard after that. But what you don't realize, we don't realize how we interact with the world. We don't realize the way that we interact with the world. And I think that saying something like, be kind to people is so profound, because it's something that we don't always think about. And it's harder to do than you realize, you know? But I appreciate that, man. I appreciate your story, and I appreciate you coming on. It's been really awesome. Do you have any last bit of advice? Do you want to plug your movie any bit more? Anything else that you'd like to share?
So it's like, you just Google Live Well Done or Well Done, or even just my name, and you will see everything you need to know about that. So if you want to come and join the project, yes, sure. You know, go ahead, find me on Facebook, Instagram.
Awesome.
I will answer.
That's really cool, man. Well, yeah, me too. I try to answer people just because people took the time. I like to. Though there is some really weird stuff that comes to me in requests sometimes. I'm like, that was an interesting, but I'm going to go and delete.
I don't say yes to everything, but, you know, I definitely read everything and, like, you know, want to explore.
Same. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time coming on tonight.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to end the call. Yeah, I had fun, man. I had a good laugh, and maybe that's something as simple as laughing is you know, part of healing the whole world, man. So, all right.
Let's try.
Yeah, right. We got to try, brother.